on the ideas of others. Modern day composers are able to embellish on the ideas of others via the manifestation of a new composition that can enable the reader to recall their past knowledge as well as enhance their present understanding of the original text. Through the exploration of themes that are reoccurring in both Harper Lee's To Kill a Mockingbird as well as Craig Silvey's Jasper Jones, we are able to determine how the composer of the manifestation was able to utilize the themes present in the original text to convey to the modern society that the themes presented within the text are still relevant and applicable to modern culture. Through the exploration of racial supremacy and absence of justice and how it dictates differences in cultural characteristics, as well as unfair criticism harbored towards an individual with different color of skin, just based off dishonest claims and judgment that can lead to discriminatory mistreatment based on age, as well as lack of adolescent development that can be noticed within these texts. Overall, dictating how themes are used to illustrate the composer's evolution in expanding on the ideas of individuals shouldn't be falsely judged based on or hide the truth on the claims presented by an individual identity due to the color of one's skin. This is demonstrated by the saying, "You never really understand a person until you consider things from his point of view." Through this remark, Atticus demonstrates his morals and helps the listener to comprehend his open-mindedness, hence displaying his honesty and unbiased characteristics. Additionally, the jury finds Robinson guilty not because there is sufficient evidence to support the charges, but because they mistakenly believe Robinson is dishonest. As a result of white supremacy, he sided with the Ewell family. We can see the jury's mistake as he sides with Mayella Ewell, the white victim, despite her dishonesty. As a result, the audience is able to comprehend the significance of honesty as well as the absence of judgment. Furthermore, the people of Maycomb are all antithetical to the principle of honesty. The town as a whole can see an illustration of this in the social ostracism of Boo Radley. He had a long jagged scar that ran across his face. What teeth he had were yellow and rotten. His eye popped and he drooled most of the time. The town's gossip and misinterpretation of Boo Radley illustrates the town's dichotomy between honesty and dishonesty. Lee has used Atticus, Miss Atkinson, Scout, and Jem to counter the deception and, on the other hand, uses the rest of the community to oppose honesty. This was done with the purpose of conveying to the audience that society will always have individuals who oppose the truth, resulting in abuse of the minority population overall, emphasizing the importance of honesty in today's culture. Cultural differences determine a race's supremacy and lack of fairness. This lack of justice, governed by cultural traits, is depicted in Silvey's novel Jasper Jones. Silvey is able to portray the abuse felt by the characters by the use of racial insults targeted at many characters such as Jeffrey Lou, Jasper Jones, Majak Lionel, and Anne Lou, Jeffrey's father, by using a variety of ethnicities. Jeffrey's teammates have used the term Kong to characterize him. The racial slur reflects the feelings that Jeffrey experiences on a daily basis, despite his tendency to be positive. Furthermore, this helps the reader to empathize with Jeffrey and his family. The phrase, "bloody hell," "listen, Charlie, we can't tell anyone, no way, especially the police, because they're gonna say it was me, straight up, understand?" This is another example of racism and a lack of justice. This sentence delivered to Charlie through Jasper exemplifies the societal unfairness that has overtaken the town of Corrigan, especially the police. Even the police force, which is a symbol of justice, could very well be perceived as compromised in Corrigan, making it difficult for people of diverse cultures to feel safe and equal. Jasper continues by saying, because they're going to say it was me. When Jasper explains this to Charlie, he makes a compelling case. Jasper is well aware that if he reports a dead corpse, the town's corrupt judicial system will accuse a youngster who is already well known in the community for having a terrible reputation of murder. Jasper's theory is further supported by the town in the opening chapter, which uses alliteration in the phrase, "He's a thief, a liar, a thug, a truant." Since Jasper already has an impoverished reputation in town, this may be seen as a premonition of what is to come. As a result, Sylvie is aiming to convey to the audience the judicial system's influence over people of color. The town's unwillingness to accept individuals from various cultures has been proven by its legal system and its inhabitants. As a result, cultural distinctions defined by a race's superiority and lack of justice are being used to reinforce the idea of racism. Both Craig Silvey's Jasper Jones and Harper Lee's To Kill a Mockingbird show the reader that not everything is as it seems. Since both novels are viewed through the eyes of teenagers, it argues that while you are growing up, not everything in the world, both good and bad, is disclosed to you. As a result, both books use the adolescent stage to convince the reader that experiencing racism and socioeconomic hardship is the only way to comprehend the important hidden components of growing up, as well as the discrimination and prejudice that follow this stage of life. Therefore, drawing a parallel between the two novels through the use of the theme growing up as well as discrimination against race. This has been revealed by the hatred displayed toward Atticus when he was standing up for Tom Robinson. Your father's no better than the and trash he works for. This excerpt from the novel displays the hatred of the townsfolk towards their own kind due to Atticus's choice to defend a black man. This demonstrates to the reader that even the teenagers are taught to demonetize those of different race from a very young age. Hence, as you grow older, you are under the influence to demonetize those of different race. Therefore, Lee is trying to say that those who are brought up in a white supreme household are more likely to follow their culture and tradition due to the young exposure to racial discrimination. In comparison to Craig Silvey's Jasper Jones, Silvey has adapted the racial discrimination and demonetization felt by those of different color, and then manifested that concept into the racial discrimination and demonetization against those of culture, hence building on the ideas of other composers. An example of this can be seen in the phrase, "He's a feral and an orphan, or as good as. His mother is dead and his father is no good. He's the rotten model that parents hold aloft as a warning. This is how you'll end up if you're disobedient." Jasper Jones is the example of where poor aptitude and attitude will lead. Silvey has utilized this phrasing to display to the audience the mistreatment and discrimination that was felt by Jasper, and how kids should use him as a lesson to never do bad. Due to his race and cultural heritage, the town of Corrigan don't see him as a human, but an animal. This concept of demonetization can be reassured by the quote, "Jasper Jones is the example of where poor aptitude and attitude will lead," therefore reinforcing the town's perspective on those who are different. Both Silvey and Lee work in unison to carry out the same moral or message of discrimination and coming of age. However, this is achieved through their unique ways of thinking. Although Lee's text conveys the original definition of discrimination and prejudice, Silvey was able to utilize the same concept by manifesting it to show today's society that this issue is still existent in the present, even if other cultures are accepted. Hence displaying a parallel between the two texts, as well as representing how composers are to build on other composers' ideas in order to convey its relevance to today's society. Moreover, many composers expand on the ideas of earlier composers to demonstrate that the actual meaning of that topic or idea is still important to today's culture. As a result, in my opinion, each of these texts have effectively communicated their respective ideas, allowing society to become more aware of the major concerns that still prevail.